And we are live. Welcome in, everybody. If you're watching this on replay, very much want to thank you for checking us out there. My name is Tyler Sage at Ring of Tyler. You can see me below right there. So thank you. Have had some new viewers, new listeners, new everything this week. Obviously, I think every site has. So appreciate you giving your very important time and valuable time here to the site, to me, to Zach, to Wade, to really everybody on the torch that's been Rich, who's been part of this. So started a little early, so we're going to start at 6:30 Eastern time, but want to jump on here now. So please, if you are new, thank you for joining us, or me, I should say. It should be a solo show today, but like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notification. Myself and Zach Gadorn go live every Thursday around 4 p.m. Eastern for huge breaking news like this. Zach and I have an episode from Monday talking about the fallout after the Punk presser, all that good stuff. So doing the solo today to do a little bit of a pre-show for AEW Dynamite, which I'll be covering tonight live for the Torch. But again, please, this is an interactive show. Comment below, ask questions. Let's do a discussion. If you want to, um, if you want to join the chat, please keep it PG. DM me on Twitter at Ring of Tyler, and you'll have to give me your email, but I'll try and invite some people on here. So, yeah, let's get going. Dr. Ross, hello, how are you? And then when we get, we have 4 people watching already, which is great. Thank you for joining us. 6, look at that. But a lot to talk about tonight. Besides, to me, the biggest news is Tony Khan coming out to address the world title and the trios title situation. If that would be some sort of, code words for the suspended. But, you've got the Punk injury, quote unquote. I think it is an injury based on if you rewatch some of the clips after the top rope suicida that he did onto Moxley. He was holding his tricep, but convenience. I almost titled this "Reckless Conjecture" as this special talk here because I kind of want to hear your guys' theories on that stuff, not get the hey, there's one report out there that Punk is injured, right? Is A, do you think that's true? And B, do you think he knew he was injured and then decided like, hey, last 2 times I had a match, I got injured, had to drop the title. It's might be my time to be the top guy at this company. So he decided to let it all out in the moment, the apex of his power within AEW, and that was his decision to do as I've seen, not my idea, but I love the name, the Great Bomb instead of the Pipe Bomb. Hilarious. So did you think that happened or happenstance? Maybe he knew his tricep was hurt, but he didn't know he'd be out for a period of time. And is that why? Allegedly, all this is alleged. This whole stream should be called alleged, right? I'm not trying to get sued by anybody, but is that why allegedly Ace Steel came in so hot against everyone coming in on Punk? Is because he knew he was injured and couldn't defend himself? Who knows? Is that an excuse? Absolutely not. And if anyone's followed me on Twitter, I'm on the neither camp for sure on who's in the right here, but I think the actions of Punk on a public forum was asking for this, and I think the injury, him knowing he was injured, was proof for me personally that he wanted to start some bullshit one way or the other, and he sure did. So, but besides that, and please comment. Let's get into the discussion. Malachi Black allegedly, got his release finally after that was reported last week. So if you want to talk about that, we can. Tony Khan talking at the top of the show. I, for one, have to think that is a vessel for MJF to come out. And then, good Lord, what is going to happen from there? I think Zach. So I want to pop Zach's comment up here. And he said, I can't imagine Punk decided to show his ass at the scrum just because he was injured. Well, I wasn't saying that per se. You might have jumped in at a, yeah. So Zach, what do you, so you added that here. For Malachi Black, right? And that's some mental health issues. At least Sean Rossap reported that. There you go. And then is this for me for once, or do I have a good mic, or is that for Punk and not having the mic that cut out at the last press conference? Could be either. Who knows? But um, so yeah, I want to go back to Zach here on this one. I'm just curious where you're saying I can't imagine Punk decided to show his ass at the scrum just because he was injured. Again, you might have caught me in the middle there of something, but I'm saying like I don't think he came just because he was injured. I'm just saying that um, maybe he knew, hey, I'm going to be off for a while and this might be the peak of my power. So I want to get the stuff out and I'd rather do it as a man in his mindset, do it live in public and have people know who, he was pissed about the leaking as you could hear him talking there. So maybe he wanted to be a locker room leader and decide to air his dirty laundry for the whole world before he was going to be gone for 3 months, 9 months, a year, whatever in his mind. And that's what I'm saying with the injury. Did that come to that? It's just, again, this whole episode could be called reckless speculation, and so there's that. So, and yeah, in the chat we've got what type of rating will AEW do tonight? Yeah, a big one, not for the right reasons. Yeah, Bar saying I see a 1.5 viewership and a 0.69 rating tonight. I wonder why 0.69. Maybe just you thought that specifically, or a 0.69. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at last week, it did a little over 1 million. You have 2 million people watching Raw and a little over that watching SmackDown. My guess tonight is the Tony, it depends what you want to do. If you want to look at a quarter hour, I think Tony Khan opens the show. And again, everybody comment below, what do you think is going to happen? I think Tony Khan opens the show and discusses what's going on with the world title and the trios title to a lesser extent, in my mind. And then MJF uses that as a vessel to come out and have who knows what could happen there. I'm sure Tony Khan is hopefully crossed his T's and dotted his I's on all of this sort of stuff. But is that's a vessel for to set up the MJF versus somebody at the Grand Slam 2 event. It almost has to be it, right? I mean, maybe they'll change it up because that seems so obvious to me. But it is, how much does MJF talk about it? Do we get a Max Caster rap tonight at some point? If that feels like something you want to hold off for a week or two. And then, I'm just, curious on, it's been reported at lots of places that, let me see, I got it all written down. The Bucks, Kenny, Pat Buck, Christopher Danielson, Michael Nakazawa, and one other person. Brandon Cutler, poor Brandon Cutler. They're all suspended. And then the other reports, again, if there's stuff, we're an hour and a half before the show. So I'm trying to keep active here with you guys and keep up on the news. But the last thing I saw was that Ace Steel and CM Punk would either be added to that suspended list or not part of the company, was the latest report. So I could be a little behind on that. Please let me know. But let me see. Let's go back to the chat here because you guys are pounding the chat, and I very much appreciate that and appreciate all you guys for being here. So yeah, we'd rather see the children leave. They don't need the Bucks or Omega or Hangman. That's certainly, again, on Monday, and I'm curious if anyone concurs. I've not seen the take anywhere, so maybe it was not a good take because no one else concurred with my take. But I think CM Punk certainly seemed very Trumpish to me. And the fact that it's essentially been a split, like, hey, you either are against Trump or you're with Trump. And that's kind of the politics, if you will, of wrestling at the moment, is interesting that society bleeds through. It's a little bit, to a much larger extent, as I think all of you know, it's kind of like the did Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine or not? This is like our little micro version of what side are you on, what happened, all that good stuff. So it's just funny to see those things branch out there. But I digress. Let's get back to the comments. As Zach has said, 90%, 95% of the locker room is anti-Punk in this case. Seems to be accurate at this point. But again, I've asked around tangentially around the locker room, gotten a lot of wasn't there. I mean, I'm not a newsbreaker. So again, don't take my word for it. Put it like 17th out of, if 17 people are reporting on it, take mine as 17th, but a lot of no comments, which I think is, I've done a lot of that today to reach out and try and prepare for this show. And I think the word is out. If you weren't there, don't say anything. It's either don't comment or say you weren't there. You don't know what's going on. So, but anyone that did report on Sunday night, Monday morning, seems to be very anti-Punk based on the situation. So, looks like so Amos said they set up a tournament or something with the winner going against MJF. That makes sense. We have what, 2 episodes this week and next week before we have the Grand Slam show, if my dates are correct. So that would make sense. There's only a couple matches tonight. I should probably have that pulled up, but the matches are not as important tonight, right? I know Wheeler Yuta is taking on Daniel Garcia for the ROH Pure title. So we'll see what else is added there, but they certainly can do that. So yeah, so Stephen Box, I'm sure people on this chat and Son Ross Sapp said last week, there's no truth to the rumors Black was leaving. Yes, so that is we can talk on that for a second. Okay, well, hold on this. I agree. I made a point. So I thank you for bringing this up. He's not like Trump politically at all, right? So I'm just saying from a when you have control of the bully pulpit, if you will, right? Like when Trump is president, Joe Biden is not one that demands, and it's not to be political. So I'm trying not to do that, guys, but just like from a personality standpoint, right? Like CM Punk winning control of the situation is kind of scorched earth and like you either with me or you're against me. And that's what I mean by that. Like when in a position of power, turns everyone on his side and burns former friends, things like that. Colt Cabana could be a, mm, you know, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's get off that subject. So that's bad comparison. But I appreciate the comment there. So let's get back onto Black. We'll kind of build our way up. And yeah, so Black is leaving because of mental issues per Sean Ross Sapp. So again, you wish him all the best. On that, this is not to be excited that Malachi Black is leaving. He's a great talent, in my personal opinion. One of the, I think he has good ring psychology and obviously good striking, and it has not been utilized correctly by AEW or main roster WWE. The last time we saw the best use of that was within NXT, and then before that when he was Tommy End on in Ring of Honor and on the indie scene, I thought was some A plus to S tier type work rate with shooting and psychology. So we're talking, this is a pre AEW Dynamite. This is a pre-show for that show. So let's just keep it in the zone of AEW. And first and foremost, hoping Malachi the best. Hope that he lands on his feet somewhere, and I think he will. But so just want to say that before we get there. But when you look at who's left, so you have winners and losers, which I don't like to do, but let's just think if you're Tony Khan and you have Buddy Murphy, you have Brody King, and you have Julia Hart. I personally think it's a win for all three, depending on how this goes. I think Brody King was pushed for a period of time there as one of the big guys. Hobbs, Wardlow are kind of taking that zone right now, but AEW, Tony Khan has shown inability to get a big guy over with squash matches. So I think that's a possibility for Brody King as a singles. I think we all agree that Buddy Murphy has been underutilized for his talents. Obviously, he's been injured for a period of time, but seeing what he can do as a solo, maybe as a face, I think is interesting. Julia Hart is the question mark, but I think she also has the most upside in the situation. You could either maintain House of Black-esque group with her, King, and Murphy, where she's the leader, which I think would be very plausible. She's arguably the most over the group, even Malachi Black was still in the company. And having her lead that and become a contender in the women's division, I think would be strong. I think changing her from her evil character that she's doing now would be a mistake. So if that is keeping Murphy and King with her, maybe even adding another person that doesn't have much to do right now. If it's, I don't know, there's a lot going on. I don't have anyone off the top of my head. If you have anything in the comments, let me know. But I think it'd be a win for all three in a ability to grow for all three. That would probably, for majority, King, Murphy, and Julia Hart to some extent. I think Julia Hart could get the Malachi Black. You're a heel, but we really like you. You're going to get cheered and be the cool heel. I think she can almost inherit that crown from him, if you will. And they could do a video promo to do that, and hopefully that would be would be good. So let's get back to the comments. And again, let me know your thoughts on Malachi Black. And if you think he's going to WWE, you think Triple H will be able to use him effectively, all that good stuff. Because I think it'd be a win-win for everybody, assuming Malachi stays in the business and is going to be okay from a mental health standpoint. So we do wish him the best on that. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Trump lied. So I mean, Trump did lie. I'm sorry, I don't think Punk lied about stuff. So that is a good point. So more of a demeanor thing, but I think kind of getting more the bashing of the. I'm sorry, getting into this for everyone on this, but the bashing of Alvarez, and I'm not here to defend all wrestling journalists, but kind of picking journalists out of a segment, saying he doesn't like what they report. Obviously, if you believe all the reports around it, the Bucks leaking was not the exact source, even though it could have very much been a Brandon Cutler, someone around them in the situation. So more attacking the media at that moment and the separating the people. But your point is great there, and I do agree with that. Okay, so assume Pure Title will be the main event. One would think. I think the show opens with Tony Khan, as I said earlier, with MGF just gets the belt, is what I assume you mean, Azan. I mean, he got the title shot, so who knows? I think that would be good for his heat. I don't know if that is like the greatest morale booster for the locker room, the greatest way to make Tony Khan look strong, whether in storyline or in real life. It probably hurts both those things, but it certainly would be a talking point and to be controversial away from the real life stuff. But saying hopefully Garcia gets a win tonight in front of his hometown crowd. Hopefully Butcher and Blade can be there too. Maybe they could help him. I don't think they need to be associated with him and Danielson necessarily, but I do think they do good work and should get away from the private party Andrade stuff. So that'd be interesting. There. Yeah, I think you guys are in a bit of a chat there yourself. So you're there. Sorry, trying to keep up. Again, keep me abreast to any to news updates. We're probably gonna try and go till about 7:30, 7:45 because I do cover the show, as you guys know, for the Torch. So I have to get prepared to do that. I agree here. Hassan as well. Brody King and Buddy can be solid tag champs. I'd like to know their name. Maybe they keep House of Black in honor of Malachi, but we'll see. Var, yes, a cult of personality. Coincidence? I think not. I think he likes that song for a myriad of reasons. All righty. Just merge House of Black with Dark Order. Interesting. No Fett. I think that I'm curious what you think would happen. Would that, if you were to give me a pie chart of the likelihood, what percentage would you say, like, hey, that'll make Dark Order cooler? Sans Adam Page, one would presume, or they would be kind of lame Dark Order members that lose all the time if they associate with them. So my pie chart would be probably 52% would help Dark Order be cooler, and 48% they would get downgraded pretty heavily. So it all depends on the booking, right? But that is like, if I'm Buddy or Brody King, I'd be like, let's reconsider that maybe. So let's move on. Zahn says have Lance Archer with House of Black. Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, he did G1 obviously, and he's been gone for a while, but he's always good. I mean, it is tradition that Lance Archer is the Nyla Rose of the men's division, right? So now that Tony Storm is the champion, one would presume that Nyla Rose gets the first title shot, as is somehow written in her contract. And Lance Archer also seems to get the first title shot against people when they win titles. So whoever wins at Arthur Ashe will face Lance Archer first, one would presume. So, where's Tyler Black or Baron Black when we need them? Yes, all the old names, old gimmicks in the House of Black. So, Yeah, Butcher and Blade House in the House of Black, which I think is possible. You know, if you want to tell that story tonight, I don't know if you do immediately with Malachi um, reportedly leaving. Do you want to have them that group reformatted that quickly? Is that kind of a non-gentlemanly way to say goodbye to Malachi, or do you give it a couple weeks, or do you do it now? So I don't know if either one is which one's right. So um, yeah, as Amos said, has anyone been watching Evil Uno's Twitter? He's been gold through all this. Yes, I would not want to be a AEW talent through all of this. Obviously, you've got people blowing up your DMs. Everything you tweet is, going to be read one way or the other as cryptic or for or against or blah, 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 blah. And you never really win. And I think Evil Uno is doing a good job of that. So, um, alrighty. Stephen, I do not. I I don't know what that's in a reference to exactly, but I assume you're talking about somebody. Anyway, we'll move on. Um, yes, you guys are talking about control your narrative in EC3, so we have gone full sicko wrestling mode on the chat. So I appreciate that very much. So there you go. All this EC3 stuff, and it's not nothing related to redacted because I don't want to say his name on here. It might hurt the algorithm. So, all right. Yes, Zahn, let's get back on topic a little bit. So the trios titles, right? Are there going to be interim titles? Will it just be a match tonight? And Death Triangle versus Best Friends would be quite the interesting way to go about that, as they, I think that'd be a fun match to add, and would probably not take over the main event for Garcia in Buffalo, but in another I think that's in the zone. So Michael says here, I heard Thunder Rosa ask for her release from AEW and truth to that. So I don't have any tangible information that you do not have, Michael. So trying to be very clear on shows like this that, we're all a community together, and I just happen to be the one that can log into the Torch YouTube page. You guys are a lot of the times smarter and are more informed depending on the situation than I am. So um, I've heard that as well. I kind of felt the same way um, about Malachi, as we've talked about last week, where it seemed correct based on their reported attitude, their booking, etc. Um, you know, that report and Thunder Rosa kind of being unhappy seemed plausible to me. So now with Malachi Black being released, I think it's certainly possible. I don't think they would have made it an interim title for Tony Storm, and there's reportedly no heat between Storm and Thunder Rosa and all the reporting this week. I know it's kind of got brushed under the rug, but um, so I don't think so. I think they would at least unify the title before that becomes a bigger news. So yeah, I mean, this is the most plausible. Moxley versus MGF for the belt while the others are suspended. Um, is this breaking news, Corey, or are you just saying what you think should happen? Please let me know, because I need to change the subject of what I'm talking about if that is correct. I don't see anything else there. So, okay. Da, 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 da. Do, do, do. So, Michael, I'm not sure what cakes you're referring to. If they're cupcakes, it's allegedly the place that CM Punk was eating on Sunday night. But besides that, I'm not entirely sure. Ah, VAR, yes, thank you, appreciate that. Try and change it up. The setup, yes, the 30-year anniversary of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me was this week. So a beloved movie of mine. Not that but one of my favorite movies, and yeah, the Japanese poster there. So thank you for noticing. Alrighty. Hey, Brian, how are you? Thank you for joining as always. Everyone involved should be heavily suspended and fined. Omega and the Bucks need to lose their EVP titles. I can't really disagree with any of that. The one thing I have, like, as the EVP titles, like, ever since Tony Khan took the book, and someone might be able to describe that more to me. Like, have the EVP titles meant much of anything for any length of time? I know there's the Bucks are tangentially at least in charge of the tag team division. Um, but it seems to me when they're not in it, they're not taking care of it. Kenny was in, lead on the women's division, and then that kind of went away, and then he's kind of working on the game, which is going to be probably a financial disaster, one would presume. Um, so, if that seems easy, I agree with that. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think there's much merit to that, and there seems to be a lot of issue that people have here with the EVPs in general and the way they acted. For anyone that is more pro Punk, I would say, and if you are more pro Punk than pro Bucks on this, let me know if I'm getting this incorrect. But it seems to be that the EVP title is a big sticking point of like that's not how you're a leader of the company. You're not showing that, and taking that away would maybe lessen the impact of their clique within the company itself. And I think that would probably be successful if you're Tony Khan. If you took the book away from them almost immediately once AEW is on TV, and you take that title away and keep the same pay, I don't think there's any issue there. And if you're already suspended for being in an altercation with somebody, I mean, if anyone, and if you've been unfortunate enough to be part of an altercation or been a manager, in another life, I was a manager of a huge team in a um, customer facing environment, let's say, and involved in litigating many brawls, physical brawls within the staff. And one thing I can tell you from my experience is that anyone involved in a fight is not innocent, right? There's someone that started it, and then someone that continued the escalation until it became physical. So if you're involved in that in the slightest, you probably should not have a vice president title anyway, in my opinion. But um, you know, that's again, I'm probably I've been more anti-punk than I have been anti-bucks, and that's kind of what I would say. Not pro either of them, but I'm more anti-punk in this situation. I think you would know that. Talking, listen to me. He talked today, and all that. So let's get back to the chat. You guys are here to interact, be part of the show, and do that as I'm trying to stay abreast on the situation. Okay, cool. Redacted. Yes. Yeah. If you want to guess who that was, I don't think the comments will affect that, but yes, redacted. I think there's an affidavit about redacted today that came out where they lied about people having their possessions when that was incorrect. So, Zach, also, I don't think the trios titles will be stripped, and trio titles will just be forgotten for a while. They weren't important to begin with. Yes, that would be the one major win for me personally, is if maybe the trio titles just disappear. With all this, that would be the one silver lining here, is that we don't have 75,000 belts on the show. They could get away with that. I think that would be one good positive tonight. Is on, yes, MJF is going to shoot tonight on CM Punk. Yes, so that's what, like, obviously, like, that's the ratings, and I might have trailed off a little bit at the beginning when we talked ratings talk. If you're joining us now, curious what you think the ratings will be tonight. If it'll be the highest rated AEW in history. Is that good? I'd say no. I think this is bad for the company 6 months from now, but we will see. But I think the first quarter hour, if the show opens with MJF and Tony Khan's segment that I think is going to happen, then that's going to be a hot quarter hour. You might get to 1.5 for that 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But for the length of the show, I think 1.2 would be some of a more the range there. And that's certainly not worth basically the top tier of your company imploding and your champion being hurt and injured again and all that stuff. So, all right. Bar. So why not use the ROH 6-man titles in the meantime? Well, the problem with that is that if they use those in the meantime, and there will be AEW 6-man titles to be there, which would be then another set of titles. And would they unify those? Potentially. Do I have confidence that they would unify them? I don't think so. Unless we can get Shane Taylor Productions back or into AEW. That's the only way that I would agree to that that statement. But um, more belts, more problems, as we've seen. W. Okay, world title. If they're gonna put on Mox or Jericho and have them lose to MJF, yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that's come out is that obviously everyone loves John Moxley in the press and in the back, and then there's been a lot of reports of Jericho being kind of the steadfast leader of the locker room and really being just like invaluable at this point. So that would make sense. Um, yes, Var. So if you know, you know on that sort of thing. Because we're not going to talk about Judy, not tonight, even though this whole situation seems to be orchestrated by Judy, in my opinion. I feel bad for MJF because that's what we were all meant to be talking about. And he's their golden ticket. I agree, he is their golden ticket, but you reap what you sow. If you believe this is a work from the start with MJF, then I would feel more bad. If you think this is more of a shoot that turned into a work because more level heads prevailed, at least on the talent front, I would say, then you kind of reap what you sow, is my opinion. So we shall see. I think he'll have plenty of opportunities tonight. He might not be the biggest story coming out tonight based on what Tony Khan says, but he certainly will be the biggest storyline coming out tonight. So I wouldn't feel too bad about that. Yes, that is true. Cody did book his stuff after that, which we saw as the Codyverse, which is another example, I think, of Tony Khan taking over the book being a good idea. Brian, I don't think the EVP titles mean much practically, but it's clear the Elite think it still gives them power, which I'd agree with. That's why I think, logical minds prevailing is always a dicey proposition in professional wrestling. But if I'm them right now, if I could try and be in their headspace, obviously they were in a bad situation. They got suspended. If you can keep the same pay or similar, you drop the little title by your name. When you saw what happened to Cody, he was an EVP and he did not, he got lowballed and decided not to resign, right? Like, it feels like that's the trajectory for you anyway. And, it's up to you. Like, do you want to, that's a whole nother show, right? What's up with the Bucks? Would they take less, like the low ball offer in that realm that Cody was offered? Or would they go on to WWE or just work the West Coast and work PWG and be the darlings of the Indies again? Try and start their own thing, whatever. But you just have to make a decision as the Bucks, and I think being EVPs is not really part of that if they stay with AEW long term. So if you want to stay with AEW, get those checks, not have to work a ton, not even travel every week, and you lose that title in the back. I don't know. I would probably take that bet if I was them. So if this whole situation not saying anything, it's that TK needs to layeth the smacketh down. Yes, I think so. But as someone who likes to avoid conflict myself, I see some of myself and Tony Khan in the not ability not to act, right? I think a lot of people say like, oh, if I was up there, I would have told CM Punk to stop. But, I know for me, if I was in that situation and I effed up and let CM Punk talk on that mic, I'd be like, oh my God, I totally effed this up. And now I have to sit here because I can't just stop him. It's going to be a whole thing. All that's going through my head. Now, is that the right thing? No. But do I own and operate a wrestling company for that reason? No. So, I know my strengths in life, and it's not to manage 40-year-old and 30-year-old man children to get along together. So, but yes, I agree. And if that is using someone else as a vestige, then I think that needs to happen. Yeah, I mean, and that's the opposite argument here is, their management going to wrestlers' rooms to beat them up. Now that's like the conjecture part, right? I think it was reported that doors kicked down, but that was reported as being from the Punk side, Punk's camp on that structure. So it's always take that with a grain of salt. I think it's written that way, take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, both sides are effed up. And, if Punk is asking, hey, if you have a problem, come find me, and they came and found him, tomato tomato in my opinion, and I think the EVP titles are essentially worthless personally. So they seem like light members of management. I don't think anyone's going to them to ask why am I not on TV, it seems to be Tony, and if he can't get to Tony, it seems to be talking to Sanjay Dutt or QT Marshall or Pat Buck, someone like that, right? No one is going to Kenny or the Bucks for that sort of stuff. Like Kenny is not backstage when he was injured, as far as I can tell. And that's why him and Punk have not really interacted a ton. So those titles are on paper, they're on business cards, more so than anything, in my opinion. So, um, yeah, as Brian said, taking away the EVP titles would be a powerful message that Khan has done tolerating their BS. Um, if anything, whether it works for them, because if you're Khan, and please let me know in the chat if I'm wrong here. I know I'm behind on this chat. Oh my gosh, I'm way behind. Okay, so I'll answer this quickly, and then we'll go in all addition to the chat. So, um, yes, at least even if it doesn't work, because the Bucks, as far as I know, their contract's up end of the year, early next year. Could be working on a handshake deal like Cody was at the beginning of the year. So that decision is to be made. But if you're Khan there and they're suspended and you take their EVP titles away, whether they're happy or not, I think he's okay with them walking if it comes to that. But if they do stay, they have the EVP title stripped. That is a win for Tony Khan in the press. People like me, people like you, will think, okay, he's actually doing something for once, and he's not letting the children kind of run this. And it's a new era of AEW where there's no EVPs. I think that would be um, particularly good. Okay. Yes, I think that is well, if Punk was injured, I don't know if they knew that, but that's the best opportunity to do that, right? So, um, yeah. So this stuff. So why am I more anti-Punk? Yeah, I mean So if you're Punk, let's just say take this in the situation. To me, um, he thought stuff was leaked. He created a story in his head, and whether it was leaked or not, he's the one that did it. And this is just my mindset, right? Like he didn't know 100% for sure where the stuff was leaking from. He took an interview from Adam Page that I thought was pretty pedestrian and whatever. Like he was upset that he was not taking advice from people, and he was mad that Adam Page used some real life stuff in a promo. My thing is that Punk does all those things. I mean, he's listened to veterans, but he's used lots of real stuff in promos before. So to say that someone else can't do it, and that's what he's mad about, I just think like him taking this and being upset about this very small thing, in my opinion. So that might be a difference between me and you. But the stuff Page did, I think, is so minuscule and shows a immaturity level that is kind of unmatched by CM Punk here. And then did that on public forum and blew up. Probably the biggest pay per view buy wise in AEW history. And like it's the definition of going into business for yourself, not caring about your coworkers, your company, all that stuff. So um, so that's I think it all got escalated right there. Is why I think if he doesn't do that, there's no fight. They're not going to go find him and do that, whether he's correct in his feelings or not. Um, that was the start of the physical altercation, right? So I think that is non-negotiable. Now, the fact that it happened, everybody's at fault. But if Punk doesn't say anything or goes to them and says it, then he started it either way, right? So that's kind of where I am. So, all right, what length of suspension would really send a strong message? I think the rest of the year. I think through the end of 22. If it's Punk and he's going to stay and he's injured for, if he's getting tricep surgery and injured and he's out 9 months, I'd make it whatever the length the Bucks did. Add that as soon as he's healthy. Don't do a BS. You're injured, so therefore that's your suspension. But I think that's probably on the harsher end of what people would do. But so there you go. I don't know if Zach answered this. Oh yeah, he did. Okay, so he is. And Bryant, you're Bryant that calls in. So there you go. You two have met via the YouTubes. Yes, I really hope MJF doesn't shoot on CM Punk. That's just heel pandering. Interesting. I think the MJF and Tony Khan thing tonight will be really based on this, right? Will MJF rise above this little moment? Will he make an aside and then focus on him and Tony Khan and what he did and all that stuff? Because that's the story, right? Or will it be more about all this stuff? Will be all about the stuff on the side, which I hope it's not. I hope it's about the story they've been trying to tell and the story that they wasted 4 months of MJF's young prime and not having. So Alrighty. Da, da, da. Uh, Judy Bagwell. No, so we're talking. It's just Twin Peaks related. There's like the evil force in that universe is Judy. So, but Judy Bagwell, I think, would fit that same boat. So, um, yeah. So one thing that and you guys are having great conversations on here. Da, 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 talking about SRS getting worked. I'm just gonna jump down here. So sorry if I skipped anybody. You guys are all having good stuff, but you didn't have to pay $5 into the stream, so I appreciate you guys joining. So that's my little dig on SRS, who does a great job, but did not pay $5 to get in here. What was I going to say? Oh, one thing I want to talk about. Um, it was up here related because I lost my train of thought. Oh, let's talk about Buffalo tonight. And someone up here had said it that TK, I think it was you, Bar, said that MJF is a baby face. Here we go in the chat. I think at this point, MJF's a baby face as far as the fans are concerned. We'll see. Yes. So I'm very curious. Buffalo is, I mean, like, man, those chants there. A, it's good Punk's not going to be there because I think the Colt Cabana chant is coming for the whole crowd against him, turning him heel, which is something that I don't think AEW wants. I don't think it's a reaction that Punk, even if he knew it was coming, is ready for. So I'm glad we're not going to deal with that with all this BS around it. But yeah, MJF comes out. Is he cheered? Is he booed? He was cheered in Chicago while CM Punk's holding the title until he did the double birds. And then that got fans to cue, like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to boo this guy. But we're in Buffalo. All this has happened. As an AEW fan who's maybe not as connected as you are watching this or I am, what's the mindset? Like, it's this guy that left and kind of got one over on Tony Khan. You've heard about this stuff and you think he's kind of a dope. As an owner, I mean, if we're being honest, right, and this guy kind of is controlling his own situation here. I don't know. I just don't see how he doesn't get cheered coming out. Now he's a good heel; he can work his way into that. But does AEW need him to be a babyface right now? Do they need him to be the truth teller? Do they need him to undermine Tony Khan? I mean, I don't know, but um, maybe undermines the wrong word there. But like his interaction with the crowd tonight, if he makes a solid effort to turn them against him, tells you where this is going. And my idea is that's what's going to happen. Tony Khan is very rigid on his main title ideas here, and I think MJF being the heel champion is the story, not him being the babyface champion. So we shall see, but I think that's very interesting um, tonight. So um, yes, so I finally caught up with the chat. I know I skipped some stuff, but let's see. I'm gonna go back. How we go here. Here's the one thing about all of this, right? About being mad, because Paige did go off script, but like I've never gotten a good idea from any reporting like what off script means in AEW, right? Like, um, yeah, is there bullet points that are agreed between the two parties? It seemed like Punk and Paige were not working well together in the first place, and that is kind of more the systematic, the lack of managerial control that Tony Khan and his agents had back there, is like not knowing like, hey, these two guys are not working well together. Do we need someone in there to make sure they are working well together, and that there are ground rules of like, hey, Paige, what are you gonna say? Because we don't want to piss off Punk and have him blow up 6 months from now, right? Like that's where the WWE system, while rigid, while not as exciting, while not leading to crazy news like this, can last for 40 years with lots of issues, but kind of have a through line through with having an infrastructure in place. So is that my preferred way to watch television? No, but I see the benefit in all of this, right? If I'm starting a company, I'm there. So coming in hot with the Punk stands. I assume you're talking about the comments because I think as many on here would say that I'm not a Punk stand, but if you think that as well, that is your opinion to have. Yes, now we're talking about Colt Cabana. VAR coming in hot, saying that Colt Cabana is the bad guy here. He's the one who sued Punk. He's been spotted in WWE backstage and felt like Punk was betrayed. Punk stated that he has all the receipts and emails. So, you know, again, did those two have a physical altercation? No. But just like my reference earlier about like, if you're in a physical altercation, there's no innocent parties. I think in this situation, there's no innocent parties either. It's more of if you assign more blame than the other, who do you do it with? And I think CM Punk, over the course of his career that we know about, is better at burning bridges than someone like Colt Cabana is. So that would be my, without having all the information, that would be my line down the middle to decide uh, who's more at fault personally. But that's just my opinion. So take that with a um, grain of salt. Okay, we've got some fantasy booking from Steven. Okay, so they get rid of Punk now, and they lose MJF because he thinks he's too big for AEW. Companies, oh, not Facebook. Sorry, I skimmed it before I read it. Companies are real trouble. They are only two proper stars with mainstream appeal potential. Yes, I mean obviously. I think if you go back to the start of us kind of re-debuting the YouTube channel, you will know that Zach Haydor and I, the main two faces you see on here, have always said that it's Punk and MJF are the two names by far, more so than Jericho, more so than Danielson, more so than Adam Cole, more so than Kenny Omega, more so than Page, more either one, Ethan or Adam, the Bucks, FTR, any of that, like they are miles above those two. And who are those two are below a Roman Reigns, a Brock Lesnar, a Rock, a Seth Rollins, um, a Ronda Rousey, a Becky Lynch, all that stuff. So there's tiers to all pro wrestling in there. So yeah, I mean it'd be a big problem. And um, you know, I don't know if it goes to the hot start that TNA / Impact had, and then kind of goes into what it is now. I don't think it would be on that trajectory. I think TK would give up on it before letting it kind of be something that's on the Mark Cuban channel. But it is something to really look out for. And I don't know if any of you, I mean, I'm not really giving my super personal thoughts as a viewer here on this whole thing, but I certainly think AEW peaked as like interest level for me last year's All Out, and this whole year has been kind of a slow but precipitous drop in kind of booking decisions, backstage news, all sort of stuff. It feels like definitely post honeymoon phase. And I would say if I were like to pick my fandom out of the two companies, AEW and WWE, I the last, since the start of the company, I'd been more of an AEW fan from a viewership, my personal choice standpoint. And I am like considerably probably going to be more of a WWE, like enjoy that product and all the stuff surrounding it compared to AEW if it stays on the same trajectory. So I don't know if anyone feels the same way, but that's kind of where I am at the moment. And as I've talked, you guys have again just pilfered the chat, which appreciate you guys so much doing that. Appreciate you guys joining me, listening to me rabble here. Means a lot to me, so thank you. Okay, Zon, do you think Ace Steel will be fired? I mean, he has to, right? I don't know if you saw, if you don't follow me on Twitter, my thing's right there. But if not, you got to have the AEW shirts. Eat, sleep, bite, repeat. Throw chair city. All these shirts you got to have. You got to have chairs to faces. You got to have what's another wrestling term? 316 says I just bit your ankle or whatever it is. All these Ace Steel shirts. I'm sure he'll get fired and then make those, and someone will buy it, and they'll be very cringe in the audience. Not as cringe as the Chris Benoit guy at Clash of the Castle, but there it is. So, yeah. So Dustin, thank you. I think this will start the show. TK posted on Twitter. He'll address as he put it, the world title and trios title situation on Dynamite. To me, he opens the show. Kind of goes like 40% shoot, 60% work story on talking about this. I think that's an avenue for MJF to come out and do his thing. And then I think that's really when anything can happen in the situation. That's why we're here. Usually we don't have a pre-show before Dynamite, but I mean, it's going to be huge. Please, the Wade Keller post show will be there tonight. Call into that, listen to that. Zach and I will be on this page tomorrow live at 4 p.m. Eastern talking about the fallout from the show and any sort of reported news on that from there. But yes, I agree. Or I know you're just stating facts, but yes. Matt Games put the belt on Eddie Kingston. I think that would be one way to really smooth over the situation. I think there's no one else in AEW as universally beloved as this headset. It's fully charged. I don't know why it keeps turning off. I don't think there's anyone as beloved as Eddie Kingston on the roster. So if you have any more, give me like a top five, your top five most beloved human beings on the AEW roster, and we can do that. So, yeah, yeah. I wonder if if he'll be in character. He might create the Mr. Tony Khan character. Yeah, so we'll see. I think it would behoove Tony to have a character and not be his how do I want to say this? The Red Bull fueled version of himself that comes out if you've ever seen a live show. He is very hyped and very motivated, let's say, when he comes out. I think the version of him being, yeah, kind of more of a prickish heel or just like a iron fisted leader of a company, I think would be the better call for him. But we shall see. Da, da, da. So Bryant is on team more so Punk. I think everyone's on the more neither side, but if you had to choose, he's a Punk guy. So good to know. So Zon, kind of add unless you already answered it, but do you think Tony tried to get a New Japan name to help during this time? Do you mean like an Osprey or an Okada or a Naito, or if you somehow get a Bushi to come out? I know his contract kind of situation is a little hairy, but like someone in there to be the champion or to like have a big story to get off of this, or do you mean like someone from management that's handled Ibushi type situations not well? But yeah, so I assume this is chat related, but I think it would be in the same place personally. But that might be something that you guys were talking about in the chat. So, da-da-da. Yeah, Kenny Bite got Omega. Yes, I'm certainly. There's going to be if any of these people are on our AEW TV screens again. If not, then certainly we're going to see this. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of Bite related stuff to Kenny Omega, a lot of promo stuff about the Bite that and the hair pulling. Don't forget the hair pulling. That's going to be part of this as well. So yes, so this SRS probably doing a $5 live stream right now. So shout out to that guy. But yeah, he had reported yesterday that there's no actual heat on the Tony Storm comments on from Thunder Rosa, and I think if I can speculate on the speculation here, I'm pretty sure that SRS has good ties with one of those two parties on stuff. He's been pretty right on um, that situation for a while, so I would take that without salt. All right, so 7:18. You guys are still going in hard. So I can definitely push past 7:30. Probably 7:45 is when I got to get off because I got to get my setup ready for the show. But you guys are talking really good here. Is there anything we haven't talked about? We talked about Malachi Black at the top of the show. Talked about the suspended people. We talked about Khan opening the show. Did we talk about the report about uh, the report that everyone that I mentioned at the top? So the Bucks, Kenny, Cutler, Pat Buck, sorry, Nakazawa. Am I missing anybody? Christopher Danielson. They're all suspended, and then it was also reported in that same thing that Punk and Ace Steel, if not suspended, will be away from the company. So I'm curious, like, what you guys think about that. Obviously, the injury throws a lot into this, right? Like, do you want to fire somebody that was just injured? And I think that's an angle that I have not seen discussed. Depends on his contract status as independent contractors. If you provide the health care, I think you can release the contract. But I think if you do fire someone like CM Punk, you almost certainly have to pay out his contract because you're going to court probably one way anyway about this. But that's not as exciting to talk about as people biting and pulling each other's hair and fighting. But that's a real thing to think about. Like if you're Tony Khan running a business, do you just suspend everybody and go from there, let contracts run out, or do you look strong and fire people and do that? So so yeah, there's that, and let's go through your yeah. So Amos on here, is it confirmed that they have a match, or they're going to be talking, that being the Acclaimed, or is Max Caster just going to come out and rap at some point, or is that going to probably be on Rampage, because we're getting a taping for Rampage tonight as well. So if not, if it is, look for that on Squared Circle on Reddit, because you're going to see that way ahead of time. So, so yeah, we got MGF's new group. It is what it is. I think it's more old MGF. I would like to see him kind of do his own thing. I don't think the Stokely group. I mean, it very much fits like Pinnacle Light, which I think is not great with the guns and with Morrissey, all that sort of stuff. But some more juicy stuff. So reckless speculation is the name of the show. Do you think there's any merit to the accusation that Rosa is faking her injury? I personally don't. I don't have any reporting on that either way. I just kind of do the Occam's razor on the situation personally. So let me know what you think, Bryant. But I just don't see what there is to gain by saying you're injured and not working, because she has worked. Rosa's been one to work lots of indie dates too, so she's losing all that supplemental income that she was getting from that by being injured. And I just don't know what the gain is for her by faking an injury. And maybe someone can enlighten me, but I just don't see a good reason for her to risk her whole career. If you're faking injuries and not having titles, I mean, that is going to scar you in the industry forever. That's going to be what you're remembered for. So I just don't think that is the case, but could be wrong. So Dustin coming in hot. Punk draws ratings, Omega loses ratings. TK has to know this, right? I think to a certain point, but it's not like with Kenny, that era, what 700, 800,000 was the ratings. With Punk, we're at 1 million now. He's not been champion for maybe one episode of Dynamite when he wasn't injured. So just interesting that I think he has some ratings, but at some point is 200,000 people worth it? Some would say yes, some would say no. Are any of them worth it? Would you just want a clean slate and get rid of all of them and roll with MJF? I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it, and I think there's like a growth period that you get with someone like Punk, and then does he, did he rise them to 1 million, and because of him they're plateauing and sustaining that, or did he just get them there and now the product around him will sustain that, and the maximum you've gotten out of CM Punk is here, and he's now something you can dispose of. And this is not me like advocating this. I'm just saying, like, if you were to take this, then I think he's peaked there, and I think the rating will be flat, if not drop a little bit. But I just don't think it's worth it. So personally, but a longer discussion to come of that, I think, when the decision is reached on Punk, because I personally, if I haven't said this, I don't think we see him back in AEW. I don't think we see him back in wrestling. Maybe Triple H wants to do something down the road if Punk is there, but yeah, I don't know. It just seems tough with the heat in the locker room. If you want to risk all of that, if you're Tony Khan too, that has to not be all of it, but it's got to be part of it. You're in control, but a leader is only as strong as a king is only as strong as his lords. Anyone watching House of the Dragons, right? We do not need Tony Khan to be Viserys here and make just bad decision after bad decision. You need him to make like a proper strong decision and go from there, and not alienate everyone in his inner circle. Not an inner circle joke, but so yeah, there's that. Not that House of Dragons should dictate how people run businesses or whatever. Just an anecdote. So there's only one needle mover per Steven, your tribal chief. And Steven, it is like midnight. It's 12:30 where you are, my friend. So appreciate you being here. I assume that you are watching Dynamite live because you want to see what happens and not wake up and see what happens. So good job. Brian, continuing his thoughts on Thunder Rosa. He does not think she's faking it, but something that can't be ruled out. I see your point. Hashtag sarcasm on that one, I would say. But hey, they're in Buffalo tonight, so I'd be surprised if we didn't see her. She'll be a needle mover in that crowd. Um, yeah, I mean, I think obviously he would say that, and I agree. I'm not saying that it's not um, accurate. Um, yeah, so I think the injury is real as well. But yeah, him coming out and saying that I think helps to confirm that. But again, like everything we've seen the past couple days, you got to check your sourcing. Who is to gain in that? And obviously, uh, that is one point. But he's obviously very um, focused on her being held in the correct light in his mind. So Um, yeah, I mean, Mad the Bucks have a history of issues too. I think you guys are talking in the chat. Well, obviously, it's passive aggressive stuff, and that's been deemed with the Cody stuff, but um, not even a top five issue in my opinion. Are those guys being, bratty high school clicky guys? That is something you can take care of with strong leadership if you do, and that is like same thing as taking the EVP stuff away. Like I know BT is fun and people like it, but that's got to go too. If adults can't handle being made fun of on a YouTube show, then you got to get rid of that too. So, oh, Matt's in the UK too. So, you guys are both up late to enjoy the show. Very much appreciated. I know our UK, Australia, New Zealand presence is strong here on the Torch. So I appreciate everybody from across the English speaking world, at least, for joining us. Um, so yeah. So first point here. I mean, I talked about this on Sunday night, Monday morning on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, Triple H. I mean, if Vince is running WWE, I think that the options for the Bucks and Kenny Omega are a little limited, right? Do they want to go back to New Japan? If ROH was still around, would they want to do that, or they would like work PWG and be high paid guys on the Indies, but like not making anywhere near the money? And because I don't think Vince would want them, maybe have them bring them in for a low amount of money and then bury them. But Triple H knows what those guys are, knows what they can bring, and um, I think they'd get a chance to, you know, ha- have better stories in WWE. Maybe not better matches; they wouldn't have as many crazy spots, but I think he could get the most out of Omega and the Bucks in storyline and kind of corral them and have them be professionals. I mean, they're not exuding that at the moment in their current roles. Um, so yeah, yes, you guys are a committed bunch, and I think that shows in your history for a number of reasons. So, Dustin with a hashtag here that is there. I think some people agree with you. I certainly don't, but I think the idea of a Cornet from a pure business standpoint, I think would help, but not Cornet the person personally. So, I think Bryant um, kind of states that side of the issue. Um, so there's, just like everybody, you can have bad people that you agree with on some things that are still bad people. And I think for me, Cornette fits in that boat. But um, I think his criticism on the Bucks and Cole and all those guys has been harsh in my opinion. But understand where people come from there. So. Um, so Kevin coming in here. Tony Khan needs to remove the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega from being EVPs. I assume is what you're saying there. Um, and yeah, yeah, far on Jim Cornette, I can only assume. So yeah, and then on top of the stuff with when he ran Smoky Mountain and the alleged sexual things for the young talent that he was, allegedly were going on. So all that stuff too. So don't forget that about Jim Cornette. Not a fan personally. I would not be asking Jim Cornette to join us at any time here on the Torch. So, if you are fans of that, I welcome you to go listen to him. But that's where I stand, just to be clear. Um, yeah, heels and reels. I'd be okay with Omega and Styles at WrestleMania. I think everyone would. That would be great. Um, Matt from the UK stays up to watch Rampage as well on Friday night. So hopefully you're not a. I mean, I don't know if you have a Premier League team. I mean, they've really switched out the schedule this year: Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday games. But man, if you got if you got a noon game, a 12:30 game for your club, and you're watching Rampage till 4 a.m., then you real commitment there. So Tracy's in the chat. She's Team Moxley. I think I would agree. I think Moxley, that's man, how great would it be if we have Tony Khan address the situation, we kind of know where everyone stands, and that hey, they're suspended or they're gone or whatever, as much as we can know. Um, but then MJF comes out, has a good promo, doesn't get too much into the real life stuff that we're talking about here, and him and Moxley have a match um, at Grand Slam. That'd be great. I'd love to talk about that. The pros and cons of MJF coming back and Moxley. After all of this, I'm even more convinced than I was that John Moxley is the MVP of AEW. He is the heart and soul. He got the best match out of Punk, I think, possible. The storytelling in that match is great, but all that stuff. Sorry, look at the chat here. I'll get to Brian. I will get to you here in a second, so do not worry. But all that was great, and I think universally beloved John Moxley would work. If not, if you're going to run with MJF for a long time, having him and Moxley not touch in that moment, I think would also work and build to that point where you have that true heart and soul, the people's champion who's not champion, not FTW, but something like that, and John Moxley trying to take on um, uh, the situation. So, yes, absolutely. CM Punk comments over MJF return. That's a big problem in storyline, and one of the main reasons not to be happy about CM Punk's comments there. WWE Thomas fan. I love the blending of your profile there in a good picture. You were excited to see Punk in AW, and then realized that he's a jerk. Matt does not watch, or maybe he does, but doesn't have a Premier League TV. So he's a rugby guy, so good to know. Bryant, the sexual issues about Cornette were BS. Yeah, conjecture. That's why I wanted to try and say that at the top. So didn't even get into the specifics for that reason. But um, you know, I still disagree with Cornette on the comments he's made on his podcast about trans people, about other people. So we don't need to get into this too much. I think he's entitled to his opinion, and he's a great mind in the business, and it is there. So yeah, again, all that stuff is unconfirmed as far as I know. It was just out there in the ether, and I wanted to make sure it was brought up. So thank you for your opinion, Bryant. Because a lot of people that that watch us, listen to the post shows, listen to Cornette as well. So it's not trying to be a feud with Cornette or anything like that, but just I think he would, if we had a discussion, I think we'd be on opposite sides, but could still talk about wrestling. So that's kind of what I try to do with our environment here. Is that I think wrestling can be a uniter of people, even with the Punk and Bucks thing. I think all the other stuff that is happening, you can get together on wrestling and have a good chat. So just like Tracy, the Thomas fan is Team Ambrose. I'll just edit that to Team Moxley for the feed later. So Dustin coming in saying TK hiring Vince McMahon to help right the ship? ? I think Vince being the majority owner in of the stock of WWE would probably be a conflict of interest there that he would have to then sell his shares to be a part of that. But if you didn't think for a split second that I thought on Sunday night that Vince McMahon was the guy in the MJF costume and would have absolutely just thought it was the most crazy thing ever in the history of professional wrestling that could never be topped, then I think you're not having fun if you didn't think that, at least for a split second. So yeah, I thought there'd be more corny love in the room. Guess not. I mean, I'm the only one technically in this room, so respect what we did in the business. But yeah, I think there's a couple of people in the chat that are corny guys, and I think that tracks for most wrestling discussions. So, I don't shame anyone for who they like. I just think that we disagree on stuff mainly outside of wrestling, and he takes stuff outside of wrestling. Anyway, I'm done talking about Jim Cornette. Hopefully this gets to him. Maybe he'll talk about it on his show. So that would be great for me, right? So, okay. Could we see Shane McMahon come to AEW? He's definitely not his father. So they had a falling out years ago. I mean, there was a time to do that, and man, like if you do it, I think all this stuff has to be cleared. You have to know that this stuff is handled. Maybe the Bucks and Kenny are back, and if Punk is back, like they can all coexist together, all that sort of stuff. And then you have to do that as like kind of a mild surprise that he comes in. He's more of a manager, things like that. You cannot do it right now because you're just like, if I'm back there and I'm like, you can't even handle your world champions and your EVPs, and you're going to bring in this guy who's from this like a segment of that audience are mad about WWE guys coming in. If you have Shane McMahon come in and like take TV time off of somebody, if I'm Ricky Starks, whatever, then I think it could be bad. So, don't think the talent should hold executive roles at the same time, in my opinion. I think that is a good rule of thumb in lots of things. I think there's a reason there are not player coaches in professional sports teams. There are reasons there are not player GMs, minus LeBron James, I guess you could argue, but that has not been going well the last couple of years. So, yes, I think that is a good thing. So, yeah, yeah, Vince riding the ship. Also, there's other things that are issues there that have been reported. So, how quick we forget, but there's a lot of news that it's um, yeah. So I think if Punk leaves wrestling again, I think so. This is a OC veteran. I think Punk leaves wrestling again, and this time it's for good. Yeah, I mean, if he leaves, I think, I mean, I don't know, unless Paul Levesque, Triple H says like, hey, you will main event the Sunday, the night 2 of WrestleMania, and like take it off of Roman Reigns or something like that, or take it off The Rock. We'll give you payback for The Rock taking the belt off of you 10 years ago, because Punk still is pissed about that. Then maybe Punk would agree, or Punk actually needs the money, like Moxley said. Then I think he would agree to whatever WWE would say. But like, it's not worth it. Like it's going to happen. Um, if you're another company. So, it is what it is. I don't have any info besides that, but yeah. So, okay. So probably got the last like 5-ish minutes or so, guys. You guys, we're now talking Jade Cargill. Super fun. I mean, we could do this all day with you. If we didn't have a show tonight, I think I could go for like hours and just do live streams of us just like bantying back and forth. But so let's see, veteran again, who can beat Jade? I kind of want her to lose the TBS title, start a program with Tony. My guess, and we'll get into your guys' comments below on who you think will do it. My guess is like at some point, in a non-lame way, they do the Goldberg thing where she'll be a 40-0, 45-0, something somewhere in that range, champion, take on Tony Hill as a unification match. And then if you really want to run with Tony Storm, I think I said Tony Khan. If you really want to run with Tony Storm, like you have her beat Jade in that unification match, and she's the champion. It seems like an upset, but she can work from under, which is great. If you just like you have to pick somebody and go, because that's the one thing about the women's division, and really the main division besides Moxley and Punk, I guess, but he's been hurt so much, is you got to pick someone and roll with them. So even if you're not sure they're the right person to do it, like just give them that huge win and run with them and have them be, the the just the emperor of the division or whatever. So that's what I think. But you guys below, um, Steven said that she should lose to anyone and learn how to wrestle. So we see where Steven is on this. Oh no, Dustin, are you in the UK as well? Yeah, you don't have Dynamite Live or another country. Don't leave. Oh, sorry. So we have considered, and there's lots of you guys here watching now. I don't know if you are normal viewers of the show, but you're on the PWTorch YouTube page, and so if you have not liked, if you're not subscribed, please do that. Subscribe, like, hit the bell notification, all that stuff. So I'm curious, and you can follow me at Ring of Tyler on Twitter. Shoot me a DM or just tweet at me. We have been thinking, like we've done with the live shows for the WWE. We've been tinkering with doing watch-alongs with Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown, stuff like that. Oh, Dustin, are you in like you're in the West Coast or Mountain Time? I presume then. Yeah, I forgot that. It doesn't air live now, right? Anyway, we've been thinking about doing those shows live together, so just have to DM me, tweet at me if you want. If you're interested in something like that, let me know because I want to get enough support to do that. Because then I'll have to drop doing the live report if we do that. So anyway, sorry, that's enough business. But yes. Oh, that's what you said. I misread what you said. I'm so sorry, Dustin. You need a live watch. Don't leave. Yes, that's what I was just talking about. I just misread your thing. I thought you couldn't watch it live. So sorry to waste everybody's time there. But yes, please just collectively, if you're watching this now or on repeat, let me know. Hit me up if you would be interested in a live watch along of Dynamite, Raw, and or SmackDown. And we'll try and make it happen. Okay. This very much made me laugh. Could Freddie Prinze Jr. bring in Punk? I mean, why not, right? Could Punk be in GCW? That's when you know he needed the money, I would say, if he does either of those. So from Good Bar, DSG Good Bar, this moment is the most pivotal point in modern wrestling history. AEW can rise up or go down in flames. I mean, I certainly agree with the first sentence. 2022, I think besides 1985 and besides, I guess, 2001, I would say those are the 3 years that come to my mind as the most important in wrestling. Obviously, the first WrestleMania, kind of taking wrestling to the mainstream in later years. 2001 is the collapse of a second company and leading in 20 years of no competition in the space. And then this year with Vince McMahon being out at WWE after 40 years, and the kind of pivot in AEW on, if they even like plateau on numbers or grow a little bit from this point, year over year, if we're talking about Dynamite sustaining relative ratings and getting through this, I think that's a huge win and shows that there's a long-term sustainability in the company, and that would be huge for the industry as a whole to have two places for people to work, as it has been discussed ad nauseum. But yes, I agree, should be a big moment there. So Bryant's talking about Jade, a unification match, not a good idea. All due respect. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I was just saying what I think will happen, not what I would do personally. So I think really almost everything that they've done from a booking standpoint has either been bad or not really thought out, and has not been good. I don't think the track record of the women's division from a booking standpoint has been good. I think the wrestling has overcome that sometimes, and it does not overcome it other times as well. So, but I would agree with you. If we were in the booking meeting together, we would be aligned in having someone beat Jade, because I think her losing and then moving up in a loss at a later date would be the move. Putting someone over that's not already the champion would be the right call. But I just don't get that feeling at this point, because you can hotshot her into the world title match and make it a unification match and make it feel important. And then you only have to have one women's match on the pay-per-view. So I think Tony Khan would love that. So well, Bradley, I think Stokely Hathaway technically, but MJF won. So, oh, look, the name of Redacted finally came up. I don't know if Zach's still here, but if you had that in the queue, that was Redacted, was that person. So, okay, it is. Okay, it is 7:45 my time. I think we're going to end it here. But I appreciate all you guys joining to end here. Please like, subscribe, bell notification, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys joining us. You're helping us grow the channel. It's been a fun space to discuss wrestling with you guys. Catch Zach and I tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about there. And you can check out PWTorch.com for my written report on AEW Dynamite tonight. And if you want my initial thoughts, I usually put my analysis for big moments. And then please listen to Wade and company tonight. But yeah, appreciate you guys all joining us today. And appreciate you guys more than you know for letting me sit here and do this. So thank you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Man, what's going to happen tonight? We will see.